The day Amy's sweetheart returned home, I set our marital house on fire. Except for the pair of twins she gave me, I took nothing else. When she was critically ill and needed a kidney transplant, I donated mine to her without hesitation. But she thought I was scheming to marry her and broke her and her sweetheart apart. Now I've finally given up, faked my death, and left. Yet, she completely broke down when she heard the news of my death. Mid-Autumn Festival is a day for family reunions. It's also the kids' birthday. The kids begged Amy for ages before she reluctantly agreed to come home once. She casually mentioned she wanted home-cooked dishes, so I made a big spread despite feeling sick with a fever. Now the food sits cold and the kids won't sleep, waiting by the cake. But Amy never showed up. Feeling dizzy, I shoved some fever medicine into my mouth and headed out. I knew where she'd be. Whenever she was upset, she'd talk to her girlfriends. The lights were on in the villa's yard. Amy was there drinking with her girlfriends. Henry's coming back to the country. What about that Liv and son-in-law, Andrew, and your twins? What's your plan? My hand froze mid-knock and never landed. Amy's delicate face looked a bit distorted in the light. Her brow furrowed. Divorce, let him take the kids. It'd save Henry from being unhappy. Her answer was cold and decisive, yet I expected it. After all, her grandpa forced her into marriage with me on his deathbed. Henry had left the country and vanished because of that. So for our wedding, she protested by disappearing. Alive and son-in-law and a runaway bride, I became the city's laughingstock overnight. We didn't see each other for a year after that. Then, a fluke night led to the birth of twins. When they were born, Amy showed no affection, ordering the nurse to take them away and not even looking at them. They were evidence of her betrayal of her true love. The day she agreed to come and celebrate the kid's birthday, I naively thought the Ice Queen would finally thaw. After a long silence, someone spoke up. Your husband's actually good to you. Even after the bankruptcy, he used his connections to get you resources, worked hard with surgeries and clients till he bled, and helped you build the company big. Another friend argued back immediately. Without him, Amy would have still done great. If he hadn't donated his kidney, her grandpa wouldn't have forced her to marry, and she wouldn't have missed years with Henry, a freeloader son-in-law. And he still thinks he's a someone. I'd just divorce him already. A pain hit my heart, and Amy's cold voice came through. Talking about him is a buzzkill. Let's drink. One woman laughed seductively and chimed in. Andrew has a good-looking face, used to be in high demand. Since you don't want him, maybe let us have a taste like hiring a male model or something. As laughter filled the air, Amy stayed silent, just drinking her champagne in one go. I often feel life isn't going my way, constantly veering off and heading into every snowstorm. I met Amy at a charity auction at my place. Back then, I was a powerful young master. Amy was just a startup owner. She got in using a friend's ticket. The auction included my paintings. The wealthy placed high bids just for a chance to be close to my family. But one girl in the corner appreciated my work truly. That painting titled Mother, my favorite piece. Lost in it, a tear actually fell from her eye. Noticing my gaze, Amy stepped back, looking at me nervously. Andrew, your art is amazing, but I can't afford it. A sense of spring touched my heart, causing it to beat wildly. Later, I learned Amy was orphaned young, raised by her grandpa. My painting moved her deeply, so I gave it to her, starting a 6-year unrequited love. Amy always stayed distant, yet didn't outright reject me. Kept me imagining I could win her over with sincerity. I introduced her to top resources, watched her grow her business. Then my family crumbled, leaving only me alive. Physically, at least, I survived. Ignoring my aunt's warnings, I donated a kidney to Amy. The surgery complications almost killed me, forcing me to abandon my art. Knowing he owed me, her grandpa insisted Amy marry me on his deathbed. Amy couldn't refuse outright, but insisted I be the Liv and son-in-law. Only later, I found out she'd always dreamed of marrying her true love. Her husband's place in her heart belonged to another man. That mid-autumn festival, a drunken Amy came home for the first time. I just wanted to help her to bed, but she clung to me tightly, reeking of alcohol. Like a slippery snake, her arms wrapped around me tighter. Kiss me, she demanded. In a foolish moment, I made a terrible mistake. When we awoke, Amy clutched the blanket in tears, slapping me hard. Is marrying me not enough? To stoop this low, you're pathetic. I realized it had always been wrong from the start. I should have left a long time back. Exhausted, I returned to the villa, the prison of my marriage with Amy. The kids hadn't slept, surrounded me, clinging to my leg. Daddy, is mommy back too? Then they rushed to the door only to come back disappointed. Joshua's tiny face turned red, then he burst into tears. Does mommy not want us anymore? Felt like a giant hand squeezed my heart painfully. I crouched to hug them. Daddy wants you. How about you come with Daddy? I couldn't bear to tell them their mother didn't want them. For Amy, Me and the kids were stumbling blocks to happiness. Nancy, acting so grown, patted my shoulder. Dad, don't be sad. Wherever you go, we'll go with you. It took a while to get them to sleep, and only then did I finally retreat to the bathroom, turn on the shower. Let the water wash over me, ease away the tears I couldn't stop. The sound of running water hid my cries, offering me a shred of dignity as a man. Since becoming my kids, they've never had a moment of happiness. From the moment she found out she was pregnant, Amy always wanted to abort them. The doctor finally warned that doing so might ruin her chances of having more kids. That's when she stopped. She still wanted to give Henry a child. When she finally had the babies and the nurse handed her these 2 tiny bundles, her first reaction was disgust. She turned her head and told the nurse to take them away, saying they made her sick. Left to be both dad and mom, I raised the kids myself. In public, she never acknowledges them. Even when they call her mom, she scolds them. Her own children, yet she treats them like strangers. When they eagerly ask if mom's coming back, I make up excuses time and again until they say, Dad, you're always lying. Leaving is freedom for everyone. Maybe Amy suddenly remembered her promises to the kids. She came back late at night. I was packing, startled by her cold voice. What are you doing? Turned around to see her eyes glazed over with booze. A strange look on her face. I kept my tone calm. Can't sleep, just tidying up the place. The smell of alcohol lingered in the air as the cool breeze from the window sent a chill through my body. Suddenly, Amy stumbled into my arms, almost pleading, stay with me, Henry. She was so drunk, thinking I was Henry. Before I could push her away, she stood on tiptoe and kissed me, the taste of wine invading my mouth. Her fingers fumbled to unbutton my shirt, urgently. In my ear, her joking words to her friends earlier echoed. Just think of it as hiring a male model. Humiliation, pain, consumed me. I couldn't take it anymore and pushed her away. If you like Henry, you should have never married me. Why torture us both? I'm a man. No matter how much I love, I still have my pride. Silence. Amy's eyes became clearer, full of resentment. I ignored her and finished packing. She grabbed my wrist, but hesitated when she felt my skin's warmth. You're burning up? How can you be so careless? You can't even take care of yourself. She tried to check my forehead, but I dodged. She clicked her tongue, irritated. So, you went to find me? What did you hear? I stopped caring and said it all. You think Henry went abroad because of us? He was afraid you'd make him donate a kidney. How dare you speak about him like that? Amy grabbed a glass and hurled it at me. I didn't dodge, taking the hit on my forehead. The glass shattered on the floor, mixed with blood. All the same, to her, I was just another glass to contain her negativity, disposable. Blood blurred my vision. I vaguely saw Amy's worried reach, but she pulled back. She stood there, cold as ice. You wanted me back. Now I am, that's it. Her heels clicked away into the night, along with my heart that once clung to her. Next day, Amy sobered up and had her secretary drop off birthday presents for Joshua and Nancy. The kids left them at the door. Joshua sneered, it's not my birthday today. Why now? Nancy pouted, we used to want mom home for dad. If dad doesn't want her now, we don't either. Unloved kids learn to tread carefully. Only 2, yet more mature than their years. Mature enough to break your heart. Nancy asked me softly, Dad, where are we going? I patted her head and said, back to Grandma's old place. The once family estate is long gone, sold. The only option now is Grandma's old house in the country. Mom tried countless times to bring Grandma to the city, but she refused. Loved the countryside too much. Mom used to take me there for getaways to keep Grandma company. There ain't theme parks or skyscrapers there, but it's filled with nature's beauty. The kids hugged me tight, stopping me from saying more. With Dad, anywhere is the best place. Lately, Amy and I have been busy. She's sorting for Henry's return. I'm planning on taking the kids away. She's used to having the upper hand. If I want to leave, I need to prepare. Though the kids say they don't want her, the day before leaving, they stared wistfully at her picture. After much hesitation, I called Amy. She answered, sounding the same. What's up? The kids want to see you, want to come by? Would she come for one last look? Amy, if you're busy, I'll just head back overseas. I guess I don't matter. It was Henry's voice. Amy rushed to explain, you're important, he's nothing. Then the call ended. When fate's exhausted, even a final meeting's a luxury. On the bedside, still a painting I gave her, recalling a single tear she shed. I lit it on fire with a lighter. Flames consumed the room quickly, swallowing the entire villa. My marriage with Amy began with that painting, ending with it too. In the glow of the fire, we walked away, hand in hand, without a look back. Amy, your freedom, here it is. The fire was fierce enough to turn forever into ashes. I took my kids back to Grandma's old house in a touristy little town. There were always tourists coming and going at the door. After Grandma passed, Everything inside was left as it was, just covered in layers of dust. Brushing away the dust, I almost felt like I could see her again, holding a big watermelon, calling me to dig in. She'd cut it in half, worrying I wouldn't get enough, and handed me a spoon to scoop it right out. She'd laugh at me, saying I looked like a little kitty with watermelon all over my face. I'm here with my kids, trying to live peacefully and steadily, just like she did. Together we carried hoes on our backs, tidying up the garden, overgrown with weeds. I planned to fix up this place and open my own little craft shop, selling tourist souvenirs. A news report said there was a big fire at a villa. Amy's husband and their twins were feared dead in the blaze. When the flames swallowed everything, Amy was actually at a hotel with Henry. Henry, who returned in a rush without being fully prepared, jokingly said he needed to go buy essentials for the night. Amy knew exactly what Henry implied. After Henry left, Amy tested her heart by placing a hand on her chest. It was strange. She didn't feel the usual excitement, and her heartbeat remained calm. So when Henry eagerly went to embrace her, she instinctively pushed him away, almost on reflex. Sorry, something suddenly came up at work. I have to go. She left in a hurry, not understanding why she'd reacted that way. That night with Andrew wasn't as blurry as she pretended. Alcohol had driven her body to seek closeness, maybe too close. Regret washed over her as she woke, shifting blame to him naturally. It was a habit. He always accepted it. When Amy heard about the villa fire, she was momentarily shocked. A pang of remorse silently crept into her mind. She couldn't help but wonder whether everything would have been different if she had gone back that day. Yet, she held on to a sliver of denial, thinking it was just Andrew pulling some stunt. That man never changes. Willing to do anything for his schemes, she thought scornfully, until the secretary handed her the remnants found at the scene. A charred wedding ring and 2 partially burnt gifts. The ring was the sole connection between her and Andrew, a treasure he never parted with, and the kids' birthday gifts were still wrapped, destroyed before they were even opened. Evidence showed the fire started in the bedroom, seemingly set by Andrew himself, doors locked from inside, leaving no way out. Amy staggered. You're saying he gave up his chance to escape? Choosing to die with the kids in our bedroom? She couldn't accept it. She had to expose Andrew's supposed trick. Rushing into the ruins, she clawed through the debris, searching for signs that he'd made it out alive. If he'd dared deceive her, he'd pay dearly. But there was nothing left except ashes. The kid's gift spared only because it was tossed outside. Andrew too was gone. She'd seen him as an untouchable heir, his love a fleeting interest. Later, she thought he stooped low for a comeback, even donating a kidney. She found him and their unplanned child detestable. Now, with his death severing all ties, she found no joy. That night, Amy dreamed. She attended the kids' birthday, watching them gleefully unwrap presents and call her mom. Surprisingly, she'd named Andrew, not Henry, in her dream. Instead of smashing his head, she kissed him deeply. When Andrew called her about visiting the kids, she joyously accepted. They shared meals, laughter, and happiness as a family. In her sleep, Amy smiled tenderly, engulfed in this dreamy bliss, until thunder jolted her awake, bringing her back to a lonely bed. Reflecting on the dream seemed ridiculous. She'd never want a life with such a lowly man. It must be trauma from the fire haunting her. Andrew's death was like a drop vanishing into the ocean. Amy kept telling herself she'd feel nothing more. Meanwhile, I lived carefree with the kids in the countryside, far happier than in the city. On my birthday, the joy of an entire amusement park once awaited. Now, through my craft, I give my kids a good life. Soon, they were old enough for school. Thanks to my artistic flair, my little shop gained fame. More and more tourists came by. Some female tourists asked for photos and contact info, but I politely declined. 2 years passed. Occasionally, folks tried setting me up for marriage, no dowry. They'd gladly accept my kids, appreciating my hard work and good looks. I always chuckled, then said no. Until one day, the kids came running, mom's on TV again. Amy was now more successful than ever, a financial powerhouse, Henry by her side. A nosy reporter asked boldly, Amy, with your husband gone for 2 years now, when do you plan on marrying Henry? Amy's discontent showed, but Henry jumped in. Good news soon. Stay tuned. The kids turned and saw my gaze, promptly turning the TV off. I just chuckled. It's our day off. How about we go catch some crawfish? They cheered out the door, coming back muddy. I almost thought I was seeing things. Amy, the woman I'd been avoiding, stood at my shop's entrance. She paced with a cigarette, something I'd never seen her do. There were cigarette butts scattered all over the entrance. Clearly, she had been waiting for a while. The afternoon sun flickered through the trees. Her delicate face looked tired as she stomped out a cigarette. Amy gave me a once-over and sneered with her red-tinted lips. My late husband left me for this mess. You were hard to find. Amy was known for holding grudges. Her coming here meant she wanted revenge. I stared into her deep eyes, but the words I had prepared wouldn't come out. Instead, I took the kid's hand and brushed past her. Just as I was closing the door, I was surprised when Amy reached out her hand. The door hit her wrist with a bang. Amy grunted in pain, but refused to pull back. I sighed and opened the door again to reason with her. Go back. The old me is gone. We're nothing to each other now. Amy looked hurt, clutching her injured wrist. As she lowered her head, a necklace dangled from her collar with my wedding ring on it. Why was she carrying my ring around? Pain. Amy waved at the kids through the slight open door. Say hi to Mom. Joshua and Nancy turned away, ignoring her. I was puzzled by her intentions. When the kids called her mom before, they only got scolded for it. She said they didn't deserve to call her that. What was her game now? After Amy's persistent requests, I eventually agreed to talk. I sent Joshua and Nancy away, leaving just me and Amy. Amy, dressed in a smart pencil skirt, lounged back on the sofa with an air of superiority. Andrew, don't forget. We're not divorced yet. I have the right to take the kids. I laughed coldly. What grade are the kids in? What foods do they like? What allergies do they have? Do you know any of this? Amy was at a loss. She realized she knew nothing about her own kids. But soon she regained her confident posture. If you come back to me, there's no custody battle. You know, Amy, get what I want. I looked at her, amused. I doubt Henry would be so generous. Amy didn't get angry, but instead looked a little smug. Jealous. How that means you still care. She stood and tried to pull me into a hug. In the past, I might have felt something, but not now. I pushed away with my fists, avoiding her. Please, Amy, show some respect. I'll agree to the divorce. I want nothing but custody of the kids. Amy was shocked, staring at me with disbelief. You think I'm here for a divorce? I cut her off before she could start another argument. In our marriage, Amy took the lead. Now, she was acting humble just to regain control, driven by possessiveness. The next morning, loud noises came from next door. On the way to taking the kids to school, I saw Amy directing workers to move her office in next door. Amy was busy but cheerfully greeted the kids. Good morning. Joshua and Nancy turned away, stubbornly ignoring her. Amy turned to me with a smile. You and the kids won't come back, so I'll stick around. She seemed so much like the old me. I too thought about starting a business after marriage. But after having the kids, Amy dumped them on me. Feeding and changing diapers for two was overwhelming. I couldn't manage it all and ended up being a stay-at-home dad. Trying to support Amy, I learned to do housework, which left my hands constantly injured. I looked up to Amy like a dream, only for her to dismiss me. The end for gamblers might be bankruptcy. Mine was despair. When there's no love left, everything is pointless. Just like Amy now. Amy started waiting at the kindergarten daily, even as the kids and I ignored her. She tried cooking only to be turned away. At kindergarten events, she'd show up uninvited, happily watching us from a distance. Who'd believe this love-struck woman was a fierce businesswoman? She even adopted several stray dogs. I remembered adopting one because I was lonely. Even though Amy rarely came home, she couldn't stand dog hair due to allergies. She gave my beloved dog away without telling me where, despite my pleas. Holding a dog, Amy asked through the fence, "Isn't it cute?" I noticed new red marks on her arms. In the past, I'd dissect her motives, but now I don't care. She'd eventually tire of this chase and return to her throne as a CEO. But to my surprise, Amy, used to a lavish life, stayed in this small village for months. A festival came around again, also the kid's birthday. I prepared early. We sat in the yard under a full moon, lighting birthday candles. Joshua and Nancy closed their eyes and made wishes. I wish Dad stays happy. I wish Dad earns lots of money so he doesn't have to work so hard. Their wishes brought me great comfort. Suddenly, singing interrupted the moment. A cart rolled in with Amy singing a heartfelt birthday song. Looking at the cart, I noticed it was loaded with gift boxes. When the music stopped, Amy smiled and opened her arms to the kids. These are birthday gifts from your mom for ages 1 to 5. Do you like them or not? The kids glanced at each other, then silently went back to cutting cake. Disappointed, Amy returned to her yard. There were no lights. Her lonely figure was swallowed by darkness, occasionally glancing our way. The saying goes, when the moon is full, not all people are there. When all are present, the moon's not full. Even looking at the same moon, everyone feels differently. Amy suddenly spoke up, clinging to the fence, asking, Andrew, why did you save me back then? All crazy actions stem from one word, love. I guess my love for Amy peaked when my whole family fell apart. In an instant, I went from a wealthy heir to a homeless vagabond. The sudden change almost crushed me. At my lowest, various people came after me for money. I lived like a sewer rat, drinking dirty river water when thirsty, digging through trash bins for food when hungry. Yet, despite being cautious, debt collectors caught me. They were ruthless like demons, and since I had no money, they planned to sell my organs. I had resigned to my fate. After everything collapsed, I figured I had nothing left to lose. But out of nowhere, Amy showed up like an angel, rescuing me. She handed them a wad of cash, warning them not to mess with me again. To her, it probably wasn't much, maybe just pitying a beggar, but for me, it was redemption. She was like a flower blossoming in my decaying life. Later, I learned that it wasn't my flower. I just passed by when it was blooming, and Aunt suggested I move abroad to join her. She married overseas and lived comfortably. She said with my talent, I'd surely thrive abroad. Now, with my immigration process complete, all that's left is catching a flight. I never expected to be on the same flight as Henry. At the airport, I overheard Henry talking to his brother. Amy's seriously ill, needs a kidney. If mine matches, I'll have no excuse, so I need to leave and find a reason to break up. Pin it on her. I met a wealthy woman abroad, wants to invest with me. My good days are ahead. The only thing on my mind was Amy. She might die, so I skipped the flight. Luckily, my kidney was a match for hers. Complications during the surgery almost took me off the table. But the first thing Amy asked upon waking was if Henry donated the kidney. After finding out it was me, not Henry, all she said was a detached "oh." I didn't expect anything. I planned to heal and move abroad. Even if Amy's grandpa suddenly fell ill, insisting she marry me or else he'd die unsatisfied. People envied me marrying a charming woman like Amy, winning both love and fortune. They also resented my ruthless ways, thinking I married in, even at the expense of my health. But that's only their biased view, a view Amy also believed. I used to want to explain, but Amy wouldn't listen. Now that she's ready to hear, I don't want to explain anymore, because our story ended the night of that big fire. Seeing no reaction from me, Amy softly called my name, Andrew. Her eyes shimmered, either from starlight or tears. You're always silent, making me overlook your pain too. Andrew, I owe you a life. Can I repay you with mine? Even if her tears were moving, I replied with just 2 words. No way. Recently, tourist numbers increased, often forming long lines at my shop entrance. Suddenly, there was a commotion. A man burst in with a group, wrecking the place without a word. The leader was Henry. He grabbed my collar, seething. Why mess with a married woman? Who do you think you are? Then shouted at the confused tourists, don't give him your money. People like him deserve to be cut down. Some tourists believed him, whispering among themselves, he seems like a decent guy. How could he ruin a marriage? Online, they say he's close to some rich woman. Probably her sugar baby. Shameful. Yeah, pretending to be noble. Let's not buy anything. Let's go. Joshua and Nancy, just out of school, rushed in, standing in front of me. My dad isn't like that. He stopped liking mom long ago. It's mom clinging on. Yeah, my dad's a good man. I didn't want the kids hurt in adult affairs. Sweeties, go to your room. It's dad's job to protect you. After some convincing, they went inside. Henry tried to slander me further, but I rubbed my palms and punched him in the face. Caught off guard, he staggered back. He was about to hit back when Amy forced her way through the crowd, unexpectedly shielding me. The punch was so strong, blood seeped from Amy's mouth. Henry panicked, scrambling. Amy, sorry you came out so suddenly. I couldn't stop. Amy's cold gaze held no emotion. I told you we're done. When Henry announced our engagement to the media, Amy, usually calm, had her biggest outburst. In my lifetime, I've only acknowledged one husband, Andrew. After Andrew left, I couldn't lie to myself anymore. I clearly love him. You know I don't love you. Taking my money and clinging on only makes me despise you further. Leave Henry. But Henry wouldn't let go, tightly gripping Amy's wrist. Why? You told me you wanted to marry me and that you only loved me. Why did you suddenly change your mind? I get it now. Is Andrew threatening you? I kept telling you that guy, who's down on his luck and barely scraping by, must have a hidden agenda by getting close to you. He's after your money. Wake up. At that moment, Henry's ugly side showed completely. Amy pulled away expressionlessly. No one threatened me. Everything I'm saying is true. The tourists around us kept gathering, many holding up their phones and recording. To keep my little shop from getting shut down, I had to explain that everything was a misunderstanding. At that moment, Amy shockingly held up our marriage certificate to the crowd. Andrew is my husband. He didn't seduce a married woman. It's all my fault. My indecision drove him to hide away in this little village. Please don't slander him. After Amy spoke, people began looking at Henry with strange expressions. The couple are legit, so what is he, a third wheel, trying to start a scene for? It's ridiculous. It's hard enough for the shop owner who's just trying to run a place for their family without being pushed to the brink. Just shameful. Get out of here. What are you hanging around for? Stopping me from shopping? Just leave. I couldn't let him get away easily. Someone had to cover any damages caused. So I called the police. Seeing that no one was on her side anymore, even Amy was telling her to leave. Henry looked at Amy, almost begging in his voice. Amy, I'm just going to be honest with you. While I was abroad, my investments tanked. I'm drowning in debt. The money you gave isn't anywhere near enough. Are you really going to let them beat me to death over debts? Amy frowned, her eyes filled with contemplation. So that's why you came back then? Henry tried to argue more, but the police had already arrived and pulled him away. Since Andrew was involved, he was also taken in to give a statement. After leaving the police station, Amy tried to reach for Andrew's hand but hesitated, fearing he would reject her. Can we start over again? The ice-cold beauty, Amy, now smiled appeasingly, her tired eyes glistening with tears. Andrew had asked himself 1,000 times. Did Amy really love him? At least at that moment, yes. But unfortunately, the answer came too late. Andrew smiled, looking at peace. Amy, I wish you happiness. One sentence easily shattering Amy. It was as if she saw Andrew's image break into countless pieces, impossible to catch. She thought it's best not to press him too hard. There's still a chance, there must be. If you don't want to see me now, I'll just come by another day to see you too. There's no need for another day, no next time, no future visits. Andrew's voice was firm, like he was stating an undeniable truth. That heart, once worn down and broken, could not be mended with flesh and blood. From the moment she admitted she loved Andrew, she realized in hindsight that she was also full of holes. Perhaps it was Andrew who had been emptying himself to fill them. Andrew walked away. A cold wind ripped through her heart, bleeding it dry. It hurt. It hurt so much. Trying to warm a heart that can't be warmed was such painful torture. She felt it all too clearly. As she left, she kept turning back. So much it almost became a hallucination that Andrew, previously full of hatred, suddenly opened his arms, telling her, let's be together. But he didn't. Amy could only watch as Andrew took the hands of his 2 children, never looking back. Amy and Andrew's divorce went smoothly, and Amy didn't keep clinging on. The village river still flowed. Andrew and his kids continued their calm little lives. A few years later, Andrew met a decent girl. The kids loved her and depended on her, and she loved Andrew deeply. Andrew decided to marry her. Their married life was harmonious and lively. Epilogue. Strangely enough, when Amy heard Andrew had died in a fire, she didn't feel the relief she expected. Inside, it felt as if a big hole was burned open, leaving her empty. Andrew liked her so much. How could he just leave without her permission like that? Especially in such an irreversible way. She forced herself not to think about it and focused on life with Henry. But the more she tried, the more she couldn't hide her growing disgust for Henry. They'd burst into arguments all the time. Amy built a new villa where they were, decorating it exactly like before. Standing inside, she searched desperately for traces of Andrew. The house stood with its heart emptied. She realized she had become the fool trying to carve memories in the sands of time. Longing didn't help, so Amy turned the ring Andrew left behind into a necklace, imagining he was still with her. When she found out Andrew was actually alive, Amy cried tears of joy. She thought she'd act a little distant when she saw him to hold some power. Yet, when they did meet, she was the one treading carefully, afraid he really wouldn't want her anymore. She tried making up for it in every way she could think of, but it was no use. Andrew really didn't want Amy anymore. Amy finally understood, both on the way there and back, just how much she loved Andrew, and how even love wasn't enough. Henry, drowning in debt, was hunted and vanished without a trace. When Amy heard, she felt nothing, even a bit relieved. Amy buried herself in endless work because whenever she stopped, her mind was flooded with memories of Andrew. Andrew was getting married. The bride wasn't all that striking. Her job was ordinary, a very average woman. Yet it was this exact thing that made it hardest for Amy to accept. She really lost someone who once loved her so much. At the wedding, Joshua and Nancy were the flower children. It seemed that woman was good to them too. Amy went to the wedding as well. The woman was all about Andrew, and he looked so happy, smiling. Amy wished she was the one in the wedding dress, thinking she would be the happiest person in the world. But it was all wishful thinking. Maybe Andrew was afraid Amy might go crazy and ruin the wedding, so he smiled and toasted her, saying some polite thanks. Does she feel okay with that? Not at all. She even thought about causing a scene and trying to win Andrew back. But she didn't. She truly wanted Andrew to be happy. It's the one luxury she couldn't give him. No matter how much she wasn't okay with it, that's how it was. Later, Amy never got married. She never had another man in her life. All these years, she secretly kept an eye on Andrew. She selfishly hoped he wouldn't be happy, so she could swoop in and marry him. She held on to this obsession for decades, until she was old and gray. Amy saw Andrew walking down a street covered in fallen sycamore leaves, holding hands with his wife and grandson. The wife lovingly fixed Andrew's collar, and he was smiling, just like that afternoon when Amy stood in front of that painting, amazed by the artist's talent. Andrew gently called her name and smiled warmly at her. Her heart skipped a beat, not knowing then it was called love. They brushed past each other, and Andrew didn't recognize her, laughing with his wife. Though they met again, they didn't recognize one another among the dust and gray hair. Amy felt the happy scenes spinning around her. After a long while, she collapsed heavily to the ground. When she got back, Amy fell seriously ill. She couldn't recover. With her last breath, she dialed Andrew's number. It was still the same number. It rang for a long time. When he picked up, Amy couldn't wait to call his name. Andrew, an old woman's voice replied, "Honey, it's for you." Andrew took the phone. The other side was silent for a while. He seemed to know who it was. He softly said, "I'm very happy. I hope you are too." In the silent pause, Amy used the last bit of her strength to hang up. A tear of relief rolling down her cheek, Amy died alone in that villa, clutching a will in her hand. After her death, all her inheritance went to her beloved ex-husband and children.